These are 5 episodes that prove Quagmire is the worst character on Family Guy. And number 5 is somehow the tamed of the bunch, titled Quagmire's Dad. Well, as tame as it gets in Quagmire's world. We were first introduced to Quagmire's dad when he comes into town to attend a naval ball where he's being honored for his service in Vietnam. And his entrance is flamboyant, to put it delicately. As he dances his way down the stairs to "These Boots Are Made for Walkin'," Peter and Joe start to text each other with their theories about Lieutenant Dan's sexuality. What could have given them that impression? So Quagmire invites Peter and Lois as guests to the naval ball, which they accept, but not before Peter shares his thoughts with Quagmire that his dad is gay. Quagmire just doesn't see it, and to be fair, it's hard to see what you don't want to see. But he lashes out and insults Peter's late dad for being an alcoholic as a defense mechanism. Touch on the harsh side, Quagmire. But a series of innuendos at the naval ball. I've said ball too many times now. Anyway, a series of innuendos about Dan's time in the Navy has Quagmire realizing that Peter may have been right.
I can't tell you how many loads your dad took when I served with him.
Huh?
By this point, Quagmire has seen what everyone else has and flat out asks his dad if he's gay, to which Dan replies, no. Wait, he says no. Sorry, my bad. I should have let the clip keep playing. He's not gay, but he is going to have a sex change, leaving Quagmire wishing that his dad was gay. As Quagmire struggles to wrap his head around his dad no longer being his dad, he goes around to get some help and understanding from Peter and Lois. Not quite sure why he thought he'd get that from them, but what he does get is Peter offering to join him when his dad has the operation.
Have fun at the circus.
Classy, Lois. Let's be honest, in 2024, none of these characters' views are going to make him look good. So the day arrives for Dan to officially become Ida, and nobody quite knows how to handle the situation. Awkward pauses, tense conversations, and questions from Peter asking if Ida misses her you-know-what. All in all, the situation is hard to sit through. Ida tries to educate them on the transition, but she would have had better luck talking to a brick wall. Quagmire finally lets his thoughts fly free after dinner, telling Ida how much he's struggling with the idea of his dad becoming his mom, or his dad still, or something else. It's complicated for him, okay? But he puts the final nail in the coffin when he ignores the struggles she must have had too.
So now you're happy and I'm miserable.
The guilt of realizing what she's put her son through drives Ida to leave and stay in a hotel where she drinks the night away at the bar and meets Brian. Oh yeah, you know where this is going now. Okay, buckle up, we're powering through this. Dog meets woman at a bar. Dog doesn't realize woman is his nemesis' new mom. Dog flirts with woman. Woman flirts back. Dog invites woman to his room. Woman agrees. Dog and woman sleep together. The next morning, Brian goes to brag about the woman he met at the Marriott and the amazing night they had together, even showing pictures to Peter and Lois.
Here, Lois, take a look.
Since they are giving him the support he wants, he goes to brag to Stewie instead. As they get to talking, Stewie tells Brian that while he was gone, Quagmire's dad went through a transition. They joke about it until Brian hears what the name change was. Ida. The shock to the system makes Brian throw up everything in his system. Literally everything. But the trauma doesn't end there for Brian. If only he knew the danger he was in. When Ida returns home, the two have a heart-to-heart and agree that their relationship shouldn't change despite the difficulties. It only took him the entire episode to work that one out. But just as things seem to be fixed, Ida tells him about the night she spent with Brian. Finding this out has Quagmire storming into the Griffin home demanding to see Brian, and not for a discussion. He mercilessly beats him up for something the dog didn't purposefully do and leaves him worse for wear. But Brian makes sure he finishes with the upper hand.
Your dad.
At number 4, we have an episode titled Quagmire's Mom. Before you say it, I'm not repeating myself, this is his other mom. So it's obviously a running theme with Quagmire to have his worst moments with his family, but let me take it back to where this all started. Peter finds out that his name is Justin while he applies for his own bank account. Of course, Peter can't just move on from this and instead changes everything about himself to match his new name. This Justin phase turns Peter into the ultimate frat boy, throwing a house party against his wife's wishes. Rookie move, Peter. Had Peter not found out his real name and thrown this party, then Quagmire would have never met his new flavor of the week.
I wanted to introduce you to Kira. She's the one who brought 4 loose Sierra Nevadas.
Who am I kidding? Even without Justin's help, Quagmire still would have found Kira. No surprise that Quagmire spends the night with Kira, but there is a surprise in the morning when he finds out that she still goes to high school. And I don't mean that she's had to resit years. Oh, no. Kira is underage. I could maybe give him some leeway for being lied to, but he loses any chance at redemption when the cops show up at his door after getting an anonymous tip asking if he slept with her.
I don't want to go to jail, but I really want to take credit.
How am I only at number 4 on the list? Quagmire digs himself even deeper into the hole, giggity, by sending photos he took of them sleeping together to Joe. With the evidence in hand, Joe has everything he needs to arrest Quagmire. Not only does Quagmire have to go around telling his neighbors that he's a sex offender, but he also has to go through a court trial. Despite him sleeping with an underage girl, I cannot stress that point enough, Peter and his friends stand up in defense of Quagmire, but they don't exactly do the most convincing job. When it starts looking like a lost cause, Quagmire decides to take the stand himself and play the guilt card, talking about his difficult upbringing. By the way, his idea of a difficult upbringing is having a mom who is exactly like him, a sexual deviant.
Could you put him back so I can push him out again?
You know what, Quagmire? I'm giving you that one. I am going to try to forget I ever saw that. But just as the judge announces that Quagmire's been sentenced to 20 years in prison, would you believe it? His mom shows up, and now she's found God and renounced her sins. Sounds likely. She tries to convince the judge to set him free and into her care so that she can show him the path to enlightenment, but the judge isn't having it, and he's sent to get his affairs in order. His mom tries to get him to kneel before God to repent. I know, an easy joke there. Quagmire's not interested in seeking forgiveness from God or having his mom, of all people, teach him about morals.
You know what else lasts an eternity? This conversation.
Okay, I'm speeding it up, Peter. Jeez. As Quagmire stands in front of the prison, it looks like he's finally getting what he deserves after 13 seasons of getting away with some of the most questionable sexual acts. But yet again, Quagmire's mom shows up just in time with the judge to tell him that he's no longer serving time.
Some new DNA evidence was produced.
And an impressive amount, I'd say.
I'm gonna let you fill in the blanks of what happened in that car journey. So once again, Quagmire faces no consequences for his actions and doesn't have to learn his lesson. Fantastic. Not even sleeping with an underage girl is enough to get this guy in trouble. What a hopeful message. Just when you think things can't get any worse on this list, number 3 does in an episode titled Meg and Quagmire. Meg's surprise 18th birthday gets off to a great start as nobody but her family shows up. It's 5 more people than she was expecting, at least. Might be worth noting that Peter had to be paid to show up. God, this girl is loved. As the party rages on, a guest arrives, one that wasn't paid or forced to be there.
That's a very important milestone in a young woman's life.
Those of you who watch the show know exactly what Quagmire's getting at, and for those of you who don't, he's trying to get laid. Peter and Brian can only watch on as Quagmire starts inching his pinky closer and closer and closer to a place that I no longer want to talk about. He goes on to give some of his best piloting stories and manages to both impress Meg and creep out Brian and Peter. Now, I don't want to call her desperate, but I will say that Meg has never had much luck in love. Scratch that, she hasn't had any love. So she's not seeing through Quagmire's BS. In fact, she's eating it up. He slides into her DMs late at night and starts off with some sweet messages before turning them into his usual, whoa. Let's not finish that one. So his messages work and Meg agrees to go on a date with him, but don't worry, Stewie puts a stop to it before things go too far.
Stay away from my sis.
Any other takers?
Drive carefully. We'll see you later.
Hold up. Lois pushes Meg to go on a date with the middle-aged man, her 18-year-old daughter. So the date goes off without a hitch and Quagmire uses his many years of experience to woo Meg. One thing leads to another and they start dating and Quagmire proves that he will play the long game just to get a young girl into his bed.
Sometimes things slip out. Probably just making room for something.
Oh god, please let this episode be over soon. I can't stress enough that by this point, Meg is barely legal, is the daughter of Quagmire's best friend, and should 100% not be an option on Quagmire's radar.
It's the strongest compound on Earth.
As much as Peter tries to put a stop to this relationship because he's a good parent, Lois, Quagmire's moves are simply too good. Lois does finally wake up to how insane it is letting them date, but only after Peter tells her that Quagmire is taking Meg away for the weekend to his cabin.
He calls it the stuff it in.
Okay, I'll hand it to him. That is funny, but I'm getting sidetracked. It's only just clicking into place for the parents that Quagmire didn't have the purest intentions for dating Meg, and so they race to reach his cabin before things go further than they ever should. Cut to Quagmire and Meg, who are bonding over shared stories by the open flames. If it was anyone else, it would be a picturesque scene, but it's not. If it wasn't already clear by this point what exactly Quagmire wanted to do with Meg, his shadows make it even clearer. Thankfully, by this point, Peter and Lois have made it to the cabin, but Peter still has one priority to handle before saving his daughter's innocence.
I don't hear anything.
I know. Isn't it bliss?
Really, Peter? Now of all time is when you turn into a nature lover? It looks more and more likely that Peter and Lois won't make it before it's too late until a kick-ass moment where Peter busts down the door and interrupts Quagmire and Meg's underwear ice cream party. So it took him a whole episode to remember that they are parents and not the other way around. Well done them. They send Meg back home before Lois leaves Quagmire with a parting message that should have him regretting he was ever born male.
If you ever touch my daughter again, I will cut your thing off and feed it to Brian.
Okay.
Jesus, okay. Message received loud and clear. Stay away from Meg. Not that I had any plans otherwise. Not to give away a huge spoiler or anything, but coming in at number 2 is Quagmire's baby. Any takers on the plot of this episode? After buying a faulty radio from Quagmire, Peter goes around to his friend's house to get his money back. He doesn't get his money, but he does get to witness Quagmire finding out some life-changing news.
Glenn, this is your child. Next time wear a condom, jerk.
I don't know why I was shocked at this the first time I saw it. This is Quagmire. He's likely got another 100 kids out there in the world. But anyway, Quagmire takes a DNA test and finds out that the note wasn't lying. He's now a parent. God help this kid. When I say that Quagmire doesn't know how to look after a child, I mean he really doesn't have the first clue. From letting the girl know that a tie on the door means he's begging someone to asking the kid if she smokes, it's the least promising start to a parenthood I've ever seen.
Have you given her a name yet?
Yeah, I named her Anna Lee, but I'm probably just gonna call her Anna for short.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Anna Lee to avoid any questions from YouTube. Don't know why I hoped any differently, but being responsible for a child doesn't make Quagmire change his ways as he invites another girl around for the night. He doesn't choose to change his ways, but he is forced to when Anna Lee, nailed it, starts crying out for him. A baby getting in the way of his bedroom activities, not the ideal situation for Quagmire. He goes to ask Peter for advice on what he should do with Anna, and he tells him to consider abortion. Abortion? Solid advice, Peter. Since Quagmire has an IQ higher than 10, he knows this isn't a possibility. But he does try the next logical step, adoption. Peter and Lois can't take Anna, so Quagmire does the best thing for her and takes her to an agency.
You're not gonna put her with sand people, right?
He does not mean the people from Star Wars. As quickly as Anna is gone, Quagmire gets back to his old life and hits up the strip clubs, but he can't help but find himself missing his daughter. He misses her enough to track down the family who adopted her to see about getting her back. When he reaches Anna's new family, he sees that they treat her better than he ever could. And in a rare moment of sincerity from Quagmire, he decides to do what's best for her and leave her in a loving home. But wait, hold up, don't go giving him credit too soon. Just when you think he may be having a redeeming moment, Quagmire proves he is and always will be a danger to society.
Hey, who knows? Maybe I'll bump into her in 18 years.
I want to be able to laugh this off so bad, but I'm genuinely concerned that he would do this if the opportunity arose. And at the top of the list list is one of the darkest and most disturbing episodes the show has ever done. Screams of Silence, the story of Brenda Q. Giving a trigger warning isn't enough to warn you just how god-awful this episode was. When Quagmire doesn't show up for a fishing trip, Joe and Peter go to his house and find that he's autoerotically asphyxiated himself. I had to Google this term. I strongly suggest you don't. There is some weird stuff on the internet. They rush him to the hospital in time to save his life, but the near-death experience rattles his sister enough that she comes to visit. The main issue is that she brings along her boyfriend Jeff, who doesn't do a good job of hiding his abusive nature.
Hey, you touching my girl?
Jeff is a piece of crap, simple as. And Quagmire quickly realizes this since they are staying with him. After a night of listening to the pair shouting, Quagmire goes around to the Griffins to ask if Lois can check in on his sister, which she does. At their lunch date, Lois gets Brenda to remove her glasses, and fair warning, it's all downhill from here. Her bruised eye reveals that the abuse goes much further than just insults. So the group rallies together to host an intervention for her. It's a promising start as Joe tries to ease her into what's about to happen. Remember when I said downhill? Well, I wasn't kidding. Quagmire reads a letter to her that details the different ways her abuse has affected him.
And I call you person and not woman, because a woman is a strong, beautiful, vibrant creature.
My god, Quagmire. I mean, victim blaming is the #1 thing not to do, but Quagmire's little speech to his sister wasn't far off how Jeff talks to her. I can't even give credit to anyone else on the show. They were all just as bad. When Jeff shows up and announces that they're engaged and expecting, Peter stands up to congratulate them and offers up some baby names like Slappy and Bruisey. Real subtle, Peter. Well done. Despite his handling of the intervention, Quagmire decides enough is enough when he sees Jeff abusing Brenda yet again. He and the guys formulate a plan to invite Jeff on their camping trip out into the woods and kill him. Step 1 of the plan goes off without a hitch, but step 2 causes problems. Jeff has already anticipated what they're planning and pulls the gun on them first. The whole sequence is filled with tense moments in negotiations, but ultimately ends in Jeff taking Quagmire to a secluded area so he can do exactly what Quagmire had planned. Quagmire goads Jeff into fighting with fists rather than the quick and easy gun route, but he's very quickly overpowered. Unsurprising considering their size difference. Jeff makes sure to take Quagmire out of the picture by strangling him to death, or at least that's what he thinks he's done. Just as Jeff thinks he's getting away with murder, Quagmire rises from the supposed dead thanks to his history of autoerotic asphyxiation. Again, don't Google it, trust me.
I choke myself every day.
Thank you for the unnecessary personal information, Quagmire. Anyway, he speeds into Jeff, effectively ending his life. We then cut to Brenda, who's been crying, wondering where her fiance is. The trio reveals a note that was definitely written by Jeff, explaining that he had decided to leave Brenda because she was too good for him and deserved a better life. It also includes a PS that gives the three of them an alibi, because this was definitely written by Jeff. So on one hand, like, well done, Quagmire, I guess, for sticking up for your sister and fighting so hard for her to be safe, but did you really have to go through a whole episode of victim blaming, name-calling, insults, and then murder to get to that point? Somehow, I don't think so. But leave a comment if you want a part 2 to this, and click the video on screen if you want to see Lois's worst moments. Subscribe if you made it this far, you know you want to. And I'll see you in the next video.